Hello and welcome to the Pentaho 4.5 new feature demo. My name is Bo Borland, and we will spend the next 5 to 10 minutes looking at some of the new and exciting end-user data visualization features of the 4.5 release. We'll do this within the context of a fictional company called Social Vinyl. They're an online music retailing application that sells classic albums in both vinyl and digital formats, and they've pioneered social media integration into their e-commerce application. The application audience is about 80% free users and 20% paying users. Their sales and marketing team focuses on expanding in the US, and they rely primarily on referrals from partner websites. Some of the key reporting dimensions that you'll see today are referral source or referring URL, products, which are albums, browser, OS platform, IP and billing geography, and gender. The CEO has asked the marketing department to figure out what are the top selling albums and who's referring them, US regional sales performance to determine where to invest in a campaign, usage profiles, how, when, and where users are logging in, underperforming referring sites, and finally, a list of popular albums that need a boost in sales. So let's jump into the demonstration. To access Pentaho, you need a browser and a login. I've opened 4 separate reports. Each of these reports is querying a live Greenplum database with about 500,000 records in there. This product revenue dashboard keeps us up to date on the top 10 selling albums for any time frame I choose using a time series filter bar at the top, a top 10 ranking, a revenue bar chart, and a multi-line trend chart for our top 3 referral partners, Facebook, Google, and Twitter. What I'd like to do is filter this on the current month, and you'll see that it will query the top 2 boxes and provide an updated top 10 list for the current month. If I'd like to filter on an individual album, say an album with a high average revenue per user, like the Miles Davis album, and click on the item name, and it will filter the other 2 charts. This is called content linking within Pentaho. Now that I have the view I want, Pentaho 4.5 will allow me to print the entire dashboard by clicking on the print icon at the top. And what I'd like to do is print this off, take it to the CEO. Next, we want to look at US regional sales performance to determine the best location for a regional newspaper and radio ad campaign. What you see is a Pentaho 4.5 analyzer view showing revenue by state. However, it is difficult to determine regional performance based on this view alone. What we really need to do is overlay this revenue data on a map of the United States. Pentaho 4.5 has integrated Google Maps into Analyzer, allowing me to easily select GeoMap from the chart list and plot this data onto a Google map, giving you all the standard Google features that you would expect. I'm going to select and zoom in on the United States and change my pattern to a 3-step pattern. What you can see is an immediate cluster of underperforming states in the Midwest. I'm going to select these 7 states and select Keep Only. The map will re-render and zoom in on the 7 selections. And I can even add another metric onto this chart. I'm going to add average revenue per user, which shows different size circles. So you can see within Wisconsin and Indiana, similar revenue, but Indiana has a much smaller average revenue per user, as indicated by the smaller circle. Now I'd like to flip this over to a pie chart so we can see the distribution of revenue and average revenue across these 7 states. And what you see is we have a fairly even distribution across these 7 states. So we have identified a good 7-state cluster of underperforming states that we will target in our next regional radio and newspaper marketing campaign. Next, we need to analyze application usage data to uncover usage profiles showing how, when, and where users are logging into the Social Vinyl application. This new heat grid chart is good for visualizing hotspots of activity across multiple dimensions. This particular heat grid plots application traffic across 4 separate dimensions: gender, time of day, whether it's personal hours or business hours, operating system, and referring website. You can quickly zoom in on the areas of high activity by clicking on the dark green boxes. And you can see a lot of activity on the iPhone coming from Google for men, and for women, a little different pattern, with the majority of the traffic coming from Facebook on the iPhone during business hours and Yahoo on personal hours on the Macintosh. So we've identified quickly two interesting usage profiles. Men are using Google on their iPhone during both business and personal hours, while women are making more purchases via Facebook on the iPhone during work hours and using Yahoo on the Mac while at home. The next task is to identify two underperforming channel partners. Pentaho 4.5 introduces scatter plots. Scatter plots are good for visualizing patterns across two measures with lots of individual data points. This scatter plot tracks album purchases by revenue on the x-axis and number of users on the y-axis. Each dot represents an album purchase, and the dots are color-coded by referral source. Immediately in looking at this, we can see three distinct branches emerge, as well as different horizontal bands showing consistent color patterns across the different referring sites. Clearly, Google and Facebook are driving high volume and high revenue albums, while Craigslist and Pinterest at the bottom in yellow and pink are our low performers. We also need to identify popular albums that are not producing revenue as candidates for a discount promotion. So let's focus on albums with greater than 75 users and less than 300 in total revenue. So by identifying the point of 75 users and less than 300, you can click and select just those transactions, and you'll notice that those transactions will be highlighted in color while the rest are grayed out. Now, by selecting Actions Keep Only, the scatter plot will re-render based on my selection, and you can see the albums as we've selected them. You can hover over any of these outliers to see that this is Steve Winwood 9 Lives album. It's produced $278 in revenue and had 110 purchases. But what I'd like to do is display this as a table so that I can share this list of albums with our website team for the discount promotion. And finally, I'd like to export this list to Excel so that we get a nice formatted list of albums to share with the website team. So this scatter plot allowed us to see the universe of album purchases and visually identify the best candidates for a discount promotion. I was able to export the list of albums to Excel and email that to the website team. So going back to the 5 tasks or questions from the CEO, we were able to produce a dashboard printout identifying the top selling albums for the current month. We also identified 7 Midwestern states that we want to invest in for an ad campaign. We identified heavy iPhone traffic around the clock from both Facebook and Yahoo. Craigslist and Pinterest were our 2 underperforming referring sites. And finally, we provided a downloaded spreadsheet of albums that need a boost in sales. This concludes our new feature end-user demonstration of Pentaho 4.5. For more information on this exciting new release, please visit www.pentaho.com, and thanks for joining.